Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'm talking with Jonny Capeci from the band Nightly. Their new album, Wear Your Heart Out, is out now. We'll be talking about it and a bunch of other stuff. Let's go.
That's my kind. I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
How's it going, dude?
It's great, man. This is an awesome spot.
Thanks.
Yeah, they were saying it's management, like kind of everything you do is all in this spot.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like, it's kind of like, I mean, it is our offices, but it's really more like just like it's like a big studio. So it's like a big recording studio. You know how like every studio has its own vibe. So you like eat, whether it's your friend's house and they have a guest house set up or a basement or whatever, everyone has their own like space they create where they can. We got this building, probably like 8 years ago.
Okay,
and
cool.
It was a recording studio, like functioning as like,
Sick.
they booked it out. It was like a really actually like working studio that a lot of people used, like hip hop and R&B and pop. It was, we ended up buying it. We had started our music company and it was growing, and we were looking at like just rents were crazy for the size of the company. I think even at like 8 people, it was like trying to find a space in Hollywood was just really hard to find an affordable place to like, and then this studio came up for sale, and we were like, we should just buy that building and like bet on the future of music. And the studios stay booked out just between our friends and artists that we work with and artists we're friends with, and it's like friends and family.
So you still have like active recording studio in this building as well?
3 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so we have like a friends and family kind of vibe. So if someone needs a place to record, if the rooms are open, we figure it out. They come in, they record, and they don't have to spend a ton of money on like just renting a studio in LA can cost the whole record budget for people. So it's nice when at least we feel like our friends and artists we know, if they need to record, they don't have to spend a ton of, not that artists have to spend a ton of money today to record.
Yeah.
But there is something to going into a studio and like having that space. Mm-hmm. That's kind of inspiring, I think. And it invites creative process. Mm-hmm. It's been great, man, because these studios just stay full. People use them all the time.
Yeah, that's sick. And like, I feel like it's cool too. Like, do you know the people who owned it before? I know you said there was like hip hop and pop records maybe, but yeah, like
got a legacy.
Yeah, I feel like that's really cool too, because like
the history.
There's so many like home studios and like new studios, which is cool. But there's something like that's just like in the walls of a studio that's made some records before, you know?
It's in the walls.
Yeah,
you can feel it, and there's like a ton of famous records that were made in this building.
Yeah, that's so sick.
So
I
like,
love that.
You can feel it when you're in those rooms. Like it's locked in there.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I mean, I live in Nashville, so there's a lot of that like kind of music history as well. But it's sad because some of it's growing so fast, so they're like taking some of that old historical stuff and making whatever, you know, apartment complexes. But
yeah, pave paradise and put up a parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I love that music history stuff, like just being somewhere that a record was made, you know?
Yeah.
Just feels cooler for some reason.
Well, it's the aspirational side of what we do.
Yeah.
It's like we all started by liking someone else. We all started. That's how no one was born and lived in a bubble where music was not you had to be inspired by some artist that captivated your imagination and made you kind of go like, I could do that.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Or I want to do that. I want to be like them. Like, and I think that's the intangible aspirational part of our at least our start. I don't know, like maybe some people lose it as they go. I don't know, but at least our start was based on someone else's like art.
Yeah. You're like continuing, you know, it's like buying a vintage guitar, right? And you're like, you know, the songs that were probably written on this, you're sort of like continuing that story. So I think that's dope.
How did you end up in Nashville?
I don't know, really. It was kind of random. So I'm in a band. In the band is me, my cousin Joey,
In Nightly.
Yep,
Yeah.
in Nightly, yeah. And then our drummer Nick.
Okay.
And so Joey and I both grew up in the South. He was kind of born and stayed in the South Jersey area, but we had some cousins down in Nashville, and we always kind of knew that we wanted to do music. So we went down there for a trip randomly, I think, to like, we've been in bands just since we were like 12 years old,
Yeah.
you know? So one of the bands, we took some trip down there, played a show at like, you know, in somebody's garage, basically, type of thing. And there was a guy there who's like a friend of one of our cousins who was like, hey, you guys should come here and like learn how to write a song because your songs are terrible, but you guys like have something,
Right.
you know? And so, yeah, we just like saved up some money, and it felt more, I guess it felt more attainable than like coming to LA from the East Coast for us, as like at that point didn't even really have a band. We were just kind of like jamming in and out of different bands. So yeah, so we were like, we'll go down there, try it for 3-6 months, and then just like never left.
And you just stuck.
Yeah.
How old were you
When
you went down there?
That was right out of high school. So
Oh, you're like 18.
So yeah, 17, 18, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. That's around the same. That's at kind of the same timeline. We left home and started trying to make it. LA was dreamy when we first came. I remember when we got signed, we first came here. Probably our first time on a plane.
Wait, you got signed before you came or after?
When we came, that's why we came.
Oh, okay. Got you.
It was probably 99.
Okay.
And it was such a like big, overwhelming, but felt kind of magical. And I was like, I want to move here. But I didn't end up moving here till our third record.
So had you guys ever played like a show out here, or that was the first time?
We had never played a show out here. We'd only toured
Wow.
the East Coast. So, you know, the Mid-Atlantic region. You know, like
So
everywhere
you guys are
from
close to DC, obviously. So
Maryland up to New York, kind of.
Yeah.
New Jersey, Philly. Like we did that all the time. We played all up and down the East Coast, which is cool because there's tons of venues and little venues and
short
lots
drives.
of little shows. And back in the 90s, it was like everything was kind of like genrefied. So there was like punk shows happening all the time and pop punk and emo and all that shit. So we were just like jumping on shows anywhere we could. And you start building a little network of other bands and you working your way around. And then locally, the promoters would start putting us on like national tours that weren't selling well.
Yeah.
We were always worth like a few hundred tickets.
Yeah.
So they would throw us on like shows in Philly, shows in New York, shows in DC, Baltimore. And we started kind of like building that. And then that's when everything kind of started growing and labels and stuff, all that happened.
So where'd you guys, I'm trying to think of the venues. Is Rams Head Baltimore?
Rams Head's Baltimore.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of venues that aren't there anymore that were back in the day.
Okay. Philly, you guys.
DC, there was the Black Cat.
Okay.
And there were some other little tiny like revolving venues that would open and close that were like DIY type shows.
Yeah.
In Philly, there was the Pontiac Grill. There was TLA.
Yeah, TLA is still there. Yeah.
There was.
Did you guys ever do this? This is like a little bigger, but Electric Factory.
Electric Factory, we did many times.
Dude, that's where I grew up, like going to shows.
Yeah.
I loved Electric Factory.
Awesome place.
Which I don't know if it's still, because I've been in Nashville now
I think
for
it
a
is.
little while, but
I think it is.
But it was like bought, closed, new ownership.
It might have been
a couple
renamed.
times.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I think it's still.
I loved that venue.
It was great.
Yeah.
And then in New York, we did CBGB's.
Yeah,
We
okay.
did Bowery Ballroom.
Yeah.
We did Irving Plaza. We did like all. And then in New Jersey, there were tons of places. And in Pennsylvania, there were like Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. There's so many towns in Pennsylvania, college towns.
For sure.
Like Penn State, with tons of little venues. Like Pennsylvania's full of little venues.
Yep.
Those shows would go off. There'd be like 200 kids packed in some bar
Yeah.
venue, college type venue.
They're very like music starved up there, you know.
And they like
especially when
live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They'll come to a live show of a band they've never heard.
For sure.
If you pass out flyers during the day. Like there was a real culture back then and I think it was around the colleges or something, you know, in these college towns, because there's so many of them, where you could go book a show, and most of the people there had never heard, or had maybe they'd heard of you, but like, and back then there was like college promotional teams at labels and stuff. But
Right.
before that, before we were signed, we would just go to wherever people were, if maybe it was the mall or the street in the college where all the restaurants and shopping was. And during the day, we would just be passing out flyers, passing out demos.
Yeah.
And you'd get 50 people to the show just that way. And then you'd get asked to come back, and it would just grow. And it was like real straight up street team marketing type things.
Dude, I remember we did when we were like, I don't even know. I mean, we were probably like 14, because I remember like our moms were driving us around and stuff, but we would somehow, we like got to play a show at a Hot Topic, like, or something. And then it was like, then we would play at like Hot Topics, like around Jersey and Philly, like, you know, and it was just people walking by or whatever, but it's so weird.
Was it the same band or a different band name?
No, this is, like I said, we've been in so many bands just throughout the years, because it's always, I feel like we just did it like some people do, you know, sports or skateboarding.
Right.
Like it was just like go to school, afterwards come home and just like make noise until mom says shut up. You know what I mean? Like that's just what we did for fun.
That's pretty cool.
So it's always been something, even if it was nothing, like not even a real band. Like we would just throw shows in the backyard with our friends, you know. It's just what we did for fun. And I feel like we just kind of never really grew up in
When
that
did
way.
Nightly start?
Nightly started in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were in, again, another band before this, and we had booked a trip to LA actually, because we were pretty like, we didn't travel, you know, to record or anything like that, but we had sort of saved some money and met somebody at some publisher or something who set us up with some co-writes. And we had never co-written before. I don't know like how you guys are about that or what it was like growing up, but like growing up, it was just like you play with the guys in your band, you know, like that's who you write the songs with.
Yeah, that's like that's definitely how we did it.
Yeah. And that's all we knew as well. So the idea of like bringing some stranger in to write a song was like the most foreign. It's like almost like offensive. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean you trying to like come fix our songs? Which now
you understand.
Being a songwriter and like doing that for other people, I'm like, I really enjoy it because I feel like I've been on both sides. But so anyways, yeah, we booked this trip. And then the other like member quit, you know, a week before, and it was like, well, we can't get our money back. So we just went out there, made some songs, and the old band, we had been doing just kind of some like sync stuff as well with MTV, and where they would give us like a really small amount of money, but to us it was like $1 million. You know what I mean? And so we were like, whatever, we'll just go out there, make some songs, and maybe we'll kind of sell them to MTV. And they ended up being like the first couple songs that we released as Nightly, and we were just like, that was probably November. So after that, we went home for Christmas.
Which songs were those?
So that would have been No Vacancy, this song called Talk to Me, and maybe even XO, which XO was the first song that we released. And yeah, we had this like private SoundCloud link. And over the holidays, we came back in January, and I was like, Joe, I've been listening to this SoundCloud link like every day. I was like, I don't know, man, maybe we should try another band, you know? And at that point, you're just kind of like, and he was like, dude, same. Like, I haven't stopped listening to him. So that's kind of like, it sort of started accidentally. But yeah, so that was 2016. Yeah, I was actually remembering, like, we had a conversation at some point in the past with you guys' management company. I don't remember who set us up, but I was like looking back at my emails, and I think we did like a FaceTime or like a call with you and your brother. And
when was that?
I think it was 2016. Yeah. And when I told Joe that like I was doing the podcast, you know, he was like,
I remember meeting you guys, and it must have been that Zoom.
Yeah.
Because I thought we had met.
Yeah.
But sometimes Zoom life and real life get blurred because I liked your music. That's why I asked when Nightly started, because I can't remember when I heard your music first. So I thought it was maybe 2019, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it goes, the years kind of blur together.
Yeah.
But I always thought you guys had airtight songs. Your songs are really well written, great songs. I can see why.
Thank you, man.